Hey, today I'm continuing my series of advice for rookies, and this one is going to be support your units. This is the series where I try to catapult you guys, your rookies, your new beginners, into becoming Bruce Lee's of bold action, right? Immediately becoming very, very good and extremely dangerous opponents. And one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of beginning players do that does not really work is that they will use a unit alone. The unit will be on the table, it will fight on the table, and it will not have support. Good players have their units placed, deployed, and moved so that they can support each other, so that different assets can get to the same place on the battlefield, either with range or by physically moving there, and affecting the same area of the battlefield. So they're interconnected. They support each other, and that, of course, is very difficult when you're new, when you're just trying to figure out everything, and maybe you don't even know the rules right. But one of the things that you can do, one of the exercises you can do when you go out and play a game or two, is try to start in your deployment in your deployment phase. Don't spread out too much. There is a tendency for beginning players to deploy units so that their individual deployments are optimized. What do I mean by that? Right, so one unit might want to stay behind line of sight blocking cover, so you place it behind line of sight blocking cover. One unit might want to sit in area terrain, so you sit it in area terrain. One unit might want to be on a road, so you sit it on a road. One unit might want to be behind a linear obstacle so they can see and shoot, so you place it there. But you're not actually thinking about how are these going to work together, these units. You're just placing them so that each unit is in its optimized position, because that's the first thing you've learned, right? That's the first thing you've sort of figured out is, so this unit really likes to be behind so it doesn't want to get shot or whatever. So the next step towards greatness, the next step towards winning games, is to actually start to think, what is it that I want these units to do later in the game? And one of the things that you definitely want them to do is to be able to support each other, right? So a good example of this is what I call a combined arms group. A combined arms group for me is a small group of 4 units. It has an officer, typically a platoon commander, so very inexperienced small officer that I don't know what else to do with. That will give it morale bonus and give it sort of a definition. Where the officer is, that is where everything else is going to happen. So it has the officer, it has an AT rifle team or something similar, an anti-tank unit of some sort, preferably with range, but it doesn't need to have it. A small unit with a Panzerfaust or 2 could do the same job-ish. And that is there to deliver something that the officer cannot. So the officer can deliver the morale bonus, right? Keep people moving and maybe even snap 2 units so that they can activate at the same time. The AT asset is there to keep tanks at bay, right? Keep them away from your units, because when tanks move up close, they're really dangerous. But they don't want to move up close if you have some anti-tank support. On top of that, I will add an inexperienced light mortar. That means suddenly this unit here, this combined arms group, also has an indirect asset with a +1 penetration, an HE1. That is actually kind of difficult to deal with for most people, and dangerous, because now you're adding a layer of danger to especially enemy artillery units, right? Enemy artillery units are really vulnerable to these very small, very cheap, inexperienced light mortars. Because they're so dirt cheap, you have many of them in your army, and you can zero in, right? You have 36-inch range, +6 movement, that is a lot of range. And you can zero in. So you can sit there every turn plinking away with your light mortar. It's not very good, it's not very dangerous, but when you hit, that 80 points howitzer is going to be pinned or killed, right? So it's a good trade-off. So we have the officer, morale bonus. We have the AT, anti-tank, push it away. We have the inexperienced light mortar for indirect fire against artillery. And then on top of that, I add a machine gun of some sort. So this can be a small infantry unit with like 5-man unit with an LMG, or it can be an MMG team. This is there to be anti-infantry, to hose down any infantry that gets too close with the machine gun shots. And these units support each other. They will always be deployed together. They will always, like, one of them, like, the enemy may throw one of their units because my enemy is inexperienced and doesn't know what he's doing because he's a rookie, right? He'll throw one of his infantry units at me. So what do? Well, I respond with the MMG, right? Okay, he goes down with his infantry, doesn't want to do that, so he pushes up a tank. So I shoot the tank with my AT rifle, giving it a pin. And he's like, oh, wait a second, he might actually kill my tank. Is this a good idea? So he shoots at me with a howitzer, and I go down with one of my units, so he misses. But then I start zeroing in with my light mortar. You see what I'm doing here? I'm supporting my units. The units that I don't need, they'll go down. The units that I do need, because of what the enemy's throwing at me, they'll go in ambush or they will shoot. And he will have a difficult time no matter what he does in clearing that area, right? My units are supporting each other, and that is what I want you to think about. Have different assets in your army support each other, right? Even if you have the same asset, so you have two cars, White Scout cars, filled with Soviet engineers, right? You might want to think about having these move up into the same area so that they can support each other, so that if one unit fails to kill whatever it is you threw them at, the other unit can go in and support them, right? Because if you just throw one unit at one area, that unit will get overwhelmed by the enemy's overlapping fields of fire, and it will get killed. So that is my advice for you today. If you want to be Bruce Lee's of bold action, you've got to support your units. Cheers.